My man, yes sir. Yep, I actually I spoke with your opponent recently, and we talked about the bout coming up, and he had some opinions to share. He thought that you guys weren't on the same level, so I wanted to get your take on the matchup and what you think it's going to look like.
We're not on the same level. He's like way taller than me. So I mean, if you factor that in, I mean, I guess he's right. Um, I don't give a shit what he thinks. Honestly, you can think whatever he wants. I mean, you know, like I've fought plenty of guys that are as good or tougher than Jordan Young. I'm not scared of anything that he brings to the table. Um, one of my motivating factors in this fight is like this is probably as close to a freak show fight as you're going to get in the PFL light heavyweight division. You've got the tallest guy, arguably the biggest guy. I mean, Martin Hamlet's pretty damn jacked, but Jordan Young's pretty tall, and I'm the smallest guy in the division. So uh, he can think whatever he wants, but it's a fight. I mean, I'm sure he has some delusions of grandeur of how this is going to go, but everybody knows life doesn't work out the way that you want it to, and he'll find that out at the fight.
Right on. We're looking forward to it. Thanks, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Hey Tom, this is Aljo Warner from the Fight Dialogue. My question for you is: from your last fight, what adjustments from your last fight did you make in preparation for this upcoming bout between you and Jordan? And what is pretty much just do or die for you to get into the playoffs?
Well, making the playoffs is going to be a tough act in some ways. Obviously, I need to go out there and I need to get 6 points. We have two guys that already have 6 points, and I've lost to one of them, so there goes my tiebreaker with him. We've got another guy with 5 points. We've got another guy with 3 points. So, in order for me to even have a shot at making the playoffs, I need to get, in my mind, I need to get 6 points. So, I'm going into this fight with the idea that I have essentially two different game plans. I have a game plan for the tournament, which is to win in the first round. But like I just said, life doesn't always work out how you want it to. So I also have a game plan for what happens after that first round if the fight's still going on. So um, as far as adjustments go, I mean, man, I've been training 20 years. I've been fighting for 18. It's kind of business as usual for me. I'm fighting another submission guy from the same camp, which is great because now they don't have to game plan for a different guy. So it seems like the odds are stacked against me, and I'm completely okay with that. I'd rather be the underdog.
Thank you for your time. Good luck on Thursday.
No problem. Thank you.
Carlos? Hello, it's Carlos from the Drinker Podcast. How are you doing today, Mr. Lawlor?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Decent, stressful, and all that. You said before that Mr. Young is not on your level. What aspects of his game do you think you are better at than him?
Well, he's actually the one that said that. I didn't say that. I've said absolutely nothing about Jordan Young until this interview. Um, so, he's a good submission guy. He's got decent stand up. He's long. I think the biggest issue for me in this fight is going to be obviously closing the distance and getting inside. Luckily for me, it's not the PFL Smart Cage. Isn't It's not the biggest cage I've ever been in. It's not. It might be smart, but it's not Mensa level. It's not huge. So I'll be able to close the distance. Hopefully push him against the cage, but it's going to be up to him to to keep that range. Now, as a submission guy, you'd think you'd want to get into a grappling exchange. But as far as this fight goes, that's exactly what I want. I don't think that he's at the level of my past opponent, Antonio Carlos Jr. on the ground. Mixed martial arts grappling is a little bit different than Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. But Antonio Carlos Jr. is one of the best guys in the world at Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. And, I don't expect Jordan Young to bring that same game into the cage. He has his own flavor, his own style. But I don't think he's going to be as good as the last guy I just fought.
Thank you, and good luck Thursday.
Thanks.
Hey Tom, this is Tanai from MMA Island. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Where is this
I'm
island?
good.
Is it like Isle of Man, Gibraltar? Where are you located?
I think he runs it from Texas, honestly.
Oh, Galveston.
All right, so I wanted to ask you how your preparations are going for your fight on Thursday against Jordan Young, and also your buddy Corey Hendricks is making his PFL debut against Martin Hamlet. So how's he preparing, and how's he going to do as well?
Preparations were, I guess, a little different than what I'm accustomed to, just because of the fact that I haven't fought with this quick of a turnaround in a very long time. Probably since my very first 3 or 4 mixed martial arts fights. I'm used to having a little bit more time to prepare in between, but I'm not the type of person that takes a lot of time off from the gym. I used to be a fat kid, and I'm very self-conscious about that. So I try to overwork myself so that I look good for the summer. And I got right back into the gym after that last fight. Um, I've been doing this for so long that sometimes the days all melt together. So it was business as usual. Jiu-jitsu classes, striking, mixed martial arts classes, wrestling. I try to do everything that I can to stay at the top of the game. And, I guess the biggest factor in trying to get ready for the fight is having to come back here into the bubble, which you mentioned my teammate and training partner, Corey Hendricks. So it's great that he's also in the tournament as well, because that afforded us the opportunity to keep training together. He's here once again. He was here with me last time, but he's here again. We have another coach with us, Matt Jelly. So we've been able to get in some pretty good work since we've been here. Luckily, I don't have to worry about cutting a ton of weight, so I can continue to train and feel good. And, I'm no longer here for a long time. I'm now here for a good time for a few days. So I'm planning on having a good time on Thursday.
Awesome. And if both of you were to make the playoffs, how did it fare, you versus Corey?
I'd knock his fucking head off his shoulders. 10
All right.
seconds.
Thank you so much, Tom.
No problem.
Hey, Tom, this is Tariq from the Havoc Hour. So my question, obviously you're in a do-or-die situation, but, if you score a big finish here, you can punch a ticket to the playoffs into the tournament.
Whoa. Hold on. Do you know something I don't? If I don't win this fight, I die? I thought I just don't make the playoffs.
Nah. But yeah,
Check that.
You score a finish. You score a big finish, you'll be in the tournament. And, as an athlete, you're familiar with that style before. You've competed in tournaments. You've competed in New Japan, and you've won a tournament. So, from an athlete's perspective, how has that experience kind of helped you into this scenario here?
Yeah, I haven't fought in a mixed martial arts tournament, but I was thinking about this the other day, and it's like the initial sport that I got into was amateur wrestling before I fought, which is, a lot of tournaments. So I've got something like probably 300 or 400 amateur wrestling matches that I've done. I've done jiu-jitsu tournaments or grappling tournaments and won those. Professional wrestling tournaments and won those. This is a tournament format, but luckily, you're kind of set up where you're going to have one fight, and then you'll have a little bit of a break, and then you'll get the next opponent. So you don't have the trepidation when it comes to what's going to happen in the next round. You're not worried about who the opponent's going to be, and you might have to fight somebody that you're not prepared for in an hour, and you're coming off injuries and stuff like that. Luckily, we don't have to deal with any of that. You mentioned, you said do or die, right? This is kind of like, it's not do or die for my career. It's more like die for my career. Regardless of what happens here, whether it's a first round win for myself, whether it's whether it's an unfortunate loss, no matter what the deal is. If I don't make the playoffs, I'm probably not going to fight again, to be honest. So my goal is to fight again. So my goal is to get enough points to win. I'm the first fight of the light heavyweights on the show, so I don't have the luxury of knowing how the land is kind of laid out. I don't have the luxury of knowing how many points I need to get. I don't have the luxury of sitting back and trying to get 4 points and sneak in. I need to go out there and I need to get a finish. And if I don't get a finish in that first, second, third round, I'm still going to be trying to win that whole time. Like I said, you kind of have to have, from my perspective, I have to have two game plans going into this. I have to have one that's focused on getting those 6 points in the first round. That's the way I see it, is I need 6 points. I don't think 5 or 4 is going to get me in. But at the same time, I'm here to win this fight, So that's the deal.
Sounds good, man. Hey, best of luck to you this week.
Thank you.
Dylan.
Hey there, Tom. Just first off, wanted to congratulate you on that successful NJPW Strong Openweight Championship defense.
Yeah, thank you. Hope you enjoyed it, if you watched it. If not, then just pretend you did.
No, definitely checked it out, man. I'm a fan of some New Japan for sure, but I'm kind of wondering, what'll bring you a greater magnitude of joy, getting a PFL victory here, or that video you watched with Brian Alvarez of the Mummy's vocal cords getting activated?
I hate to say it, especially when there's PFL staff in here, but there's very few things that bring me joy like the recreated mummy voice from CBS News does. I'm sure nobody else has any clue what you're talking about, but apparently CBS or some archaeologists spent millions upon millions of dollars to dig up the tomb of a pharaoh or somebody from Egypt whose dying wish was to speak in the afterlife. And they recreated his voice box and vocals. And I'll do a quick impression of what it was. There you go.
Thanks for the insights, man.
Daniel.
This is Daniel from Cage1IQ. How has your mindset been just having to focus on MMA compared to outside the bubble where you're focused on both MMA and your wrestling career?
Well, my style of professional wrestling is essentially MMA, getting into a fight. I'm not, especially as I'm getting older, I'm not very athletic when it comes to agility, acrobatics, stuff like that. So I kind of just have to put myself in the line of fire and let guys punch me repeatedly, and hopefully, they don't miss their target and take my head off. It's very tough to balance the two of them. I get a lot of questions about that, and I guess I'm lucky in the sense that I don't have to go train professional wrestling all the time, because taking bumps on a daily basis would be it's not good for you. I mean, falling repeatedly over and over, having somebody slam you. I don't know what, now I'm having like an existential crisis now that I think about it, because I don't know what I'm doing with myself. I may just be, my body might just disintegrate after this fight when it's all said and done. But my whole life has kind of been based around mixed martial arts, around grappling, around striking, around combat sports. And, to me, it's kind of just like an extension. Pro wrestling is an extension of that. You can't fight forever, unfortunately, unless you're Terry Funk, then you can. But you can't fight in mixed martial arts forever. And when I started mixed martial arts, I knew that. I knew that you have a limited window of opportunity. Sometimes that window ends up being a little bit longer than you thought. But maybe it's not as clear looking out that window as you had hoped, and that's kind of how I've found myself dealing with my career through the past few years. It's been a lot of like in and out of MMA, in and out of wrestling. But when it comes to combat sports, I'm all in. This is my life. So I'll continue to be involved in MMA throughout. I'm assuming until I die, and the same goes for pro wrestling. So in one aspect or another, there's really there's no qualms about dealing with both of them. There's no issues when it comes to training and getting ready for an MMA fight, and also having to wrestle. And if there were, I wouldn't admit it anyways. So.
Thank you, and good luck against Jordan, and good luck against Carl Fredericks.
Thank you.
Curtis.
Hey, Tom, this is Curtis Calhoun with Low Kick MMA. My question for you is the quick turnaround you mentioned earlier in between PFL fights, especially, is that especially important for you to get back into a rhythm considering your long layoff from the sport before the Antonio Carlos Jr. fight?
No, it doesn't really bother me. I had gone through periods of inactivity before due to injuries. I'd come back and won fights there. I had a layoff due to USADA. So, like I said, there's been periods in my career where I've had to sit out for, months, years. Getting back into it wasn't hard for me. Like I said, I've been training for 20 plus years now. If I go back and I count amateur wrestling, I started in 1997. So we're talking 24 years. And the only breaks that I've had were due to injury. Breaks from training, I should say, were due to injury. So getting right back in the gym wasn't that tough. The only issue I really had was apparently I'm an emotional eater and drinker. And I weighed in at, I think, 203 pounds. And then within 5 days, I think I was 223 pounds. And, that was all like alcohol. I went to the grocery store and I bought, like 6 of those gas station apple pies. I mean, they weren't all apple. It was like apple, berry. There's, probably a raspberry, maybe a lemon yogurt one as well. And I ate all of those after my dinner one night, and I got on the scale, and like my liver hurt, my kidneys hurt, my intestines hurt, everything hurt. My emotions hurt, and I got on the scale. I was 223 pounds, and I was like, "Holy shit, you've got a problem." So, that was the biggest issue that I had. Honestly, getting back into training was there was a few days there where it was tough to move around because I had blown up. So
appreciate the time. Thanks, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Breeze.
Hey, Tom, it's Breeze again with the MMA Breeze. When I spoke with Jordan, we talked about his youth and how that is an advantage. But on the contrast, you could look at your experience that you touched on earlier as an advantage as well. You fought guys like Corey Anderson, Chris Weidman. You KO'd his buddy Vellante. How does your experience in MMA, wrestling, and your whole background in martial arts going to be an advantage for this bout?
How old is Jordan Young?
26.
26. Wow, he's 12 years younger than me. So that's like, what is that? That's like a 6th grader. I don't look at it as like any difference. I don't think that plays as big of a factor as some people think. As time goes by, and I'm sure fans have noticed this, I'm sure fighters have noticed this, nutrition advice gets better, workout advice gets better. As the sport of MMA has kind of evolved, people have figured out how to stay in the game longer. And one of the benefits of not having fought as much in recent years is that I haven't taken like a ton of head trauma. Sure, I get hit in training, but I'm not beat up from a bunch of fights. So if he thinks I'm like walking in there and I'm, you know, a decrepit old man, that's not the case. You know, I may not be, I may not be as good as I once was, but I'm gonna be as good once as I ever was.
Thank you so much. We're looking forward to it.
Ronald.
This is Ron E. Smith from Getting Real. Tom, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Can't complain, man. And my only question for you is just goes to your wrestling. Notice last year you also made the PWI top 500, and that's not something that you know that to slosh over. That's a very high accomplishment. So just for that, how does that make you feel to be accepted and to be celebrated for your skill what you've done in wrestling?
I mean, it's like any other job. I'm sure you like people telling you, "Hey, that was a good interview. Thank you. You know, you did a good job." It's the same thing. I'm in. You know, when I got into MMA, I got into it to be as good as I could. And you know, if I look back, I don't know if I can really say that I did that. But with professional wrestling, you know, that's also my goal. I want to be as good of a professional wrestler as I can be. So it's always great to have somebody recognize you. Now, the PWI 500 is like, you know, I don't know who exactly comes up with it. There's no real like standards. You know, it's kind of an arbitrary list in a lot of ways. So yeah, that's pretty cool. But to me, the bigger motivating factors are to, you know, make money, provide for my family, get some cool experiences throughout my life, travel the world. Those are the kind of things that I enjoy about professional wrestling. It's not so much, you know, being what number was I? Do you remember, like 80 something? Do you know? Come on.
You were 111.
What?
Yes, you were 111.
I didn't even make the top 100. How could I be proud about that?
That's better than a lot of people.
I'm more proud to be the 2020 MLW Opera Cup champion. I'm more proud to be the first, only, and ever reigning, defending New Japan Strong Openweight champion than I am about the PWI 500. So sorry, PWI, but those are the things that matter more to me than being on a fancy list.
Appreciate the time, man.
No problem.